It took 17 months, but the scouting was finally finished. As Peters was reeled back into the ship by Mackenzie, the two felt a sense of satisfaction. Being the first explorers in this nebula was an astonishing feeling, especially since for the first time in humanity's history, the universe finally seemed to have been completely charted. The brothers had reached a new sector, however, previously when all had believed to have been covered. As a system, the Hénon map is interesting. Unlike the logistics map, it defies a simple description, Mackenzie proclaimed. The two gazed into a new, ominous, open space, absorbing the breathtaking view of the cosmos. I wonder what our ancestors would have thought of this sight. Would they have created some sort of superstition about this being a work of God? Or would they have been too caught up in the universe's magnificence to even process such complex theories? Peters pondered upon entering the airlock of the ship. After several millennia filled with multiple wars and bloodshed, man had finally begun to work together in order to expand their reach across all of space in peace and harmony. Intolerance, racism, sexism had since all disappeared from the two explorers' time, leaving only shame of the past foolish hatred. For now, the Earth and its inhabitants were content in simply acknowledging their own miracle of existence and the beauty of science around them. Peters lied back to his quarters on the ship. As was standard, the crew was just the two of them, along with the ship's AI, the Explorer. The ship teemed with scientific innovation and gadgetry, a testament to mankind's progression in the inventions made throughout history. Peters looked at a chart of the systems nearby on his computer. However, reading the names and thinking of the places he'd been to, none compared to the exquisite amazement he felt upon seeing the Hénon Nebula with his own eyes for the first time. It was ethereal for him, and even while their ship passed slowly through the nebula, he had never felt so content and comfortable in space. Suddenly, Explorer's voice began booming over the telecom. "Energy buildup straight ahead. Caution advised." Mackenzie converged with Peters in the cockpit. The two gazed out to see a line of 10 planets in a row, all pitch black with no visible features on them, each with a glowing outline, illuminating each of them. "What? This can't be possible. These planets just appear out of nowhere. There's just no explanation," Mackenzie shouted. "I think this is a sign. I think we should leave now. We're not meant to know what's beyond there," Peters replied. By this point, society began raising its children to believe the only way peace would be everlasting is if everyone shared the same ideology. That if everyone understood enough about science and every tiny facet of nature's design, then eventually past atrocities would be practically inconceivable, let alone repeated. It was at this point Peters, for the first time in his life, felt content not knowing something. In fact, he felt as if the voice was guiding him, telling him to stay away from the newly formed planets and admire them from a distance instead. Mackenzie eased the ship closer to the new planets, as Peters grew more and more concerned. Explorer began reading out various data on the elements found within those 10 planets, all of which pointed to one conclusion, that these planets could not physically exist. As Mackenzie's face grew more and more concerned, "No, no, no! I will not leave here before I've found out how and what just happened out there." Mackenzie panicked. As Mackenzie grew more scared and furious, Peters gently began to walk back. He heard a whisper.
"All of my vessel is your domain. However, this area alone is forbidden."
Peters fell to the ground. "Stop now before it's too late." Immediately, the comfort Peters felt earlier began to feel like guilt, as if the two adventurers were intruding on sacred ground. The first of the dark planetoids began to grow at an alarming fast rate. The light, which was once eclipsed by the planet's surface, began to get less and less visible with each inch the ship got closer. Instead, the light now began emanating from within the center of this large black sphere. Is that an... Before Mackenzie could finish speaking, the pupil, as it now appeared, moved rapidly in order to point directly at him. It was as if the whole planet was staring right at him. Mackenzie threw himself back in fear, hoping that his brother would be able to catch him. However, he landed on the ground as both were equally too shocked to concentrate. The ship began to cave in, as the light from the eye grew brighter and brighter until finally a flash covered the two, and when they both woke up, they had discovered they had been sent several hours away, with a warning left on the view screen.
Do not become so arrogant as to try and enter my land. You must accept some mysteries will not be solved by your sciences even after an eternity.